One of the other major exchanges last night was over the minimum wage, and obviously Bernie supports a $15 minimum wage. Hillary's now for a $15 minimum wage after she was against it. But, here in New York...
That's actually not true. I mean, in June of 2015, she appeared at the SEIU Fight for 15 rally because she hadn't gotten endorsed by them yet. So she totally endorsed the Fight for 15 plan. Ironically, she adopted the $12 proposal in the Senate because the other one was Bernie Sanders's. So she sort of was forced into that position because her only other alternative was to support her opponent's legislation, which wouldn't help her electorally. So, I mean, who knows who she's for, which one she's really for, like, in her heart, but it's complete politics. It's not...
Well, I wasn't saying that she made the position last night, just that she recently came around to a position that Bernie Sanders has kind of been on for a long time, especially since the fast food protest started. Peter, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, it's classic Hillary pandering.
Yeah.
When she was looking for an endorsement, she was sort of on one side. When she talks to her Wall Street cronies who are opposing a minimum wage, she's done this kind of, $12.50 seems best. And, she even threw in, just for fun last night, a little waffling on the 15, because New York, recent passing of the minimum wage up to 15 has a lot of little wrinkles in it. One of which is that it does not necessarily apply statewide. There's going to be carve-outs for upstate and rural areas.
Well, upstate is going to raise it to $12.50 in the next few years, and then 2 years after that, it will go up to 15. It's just slower.
Yeah. I mean, the idea would be, though, that a couple of years from now, $15 is today's, 13. The point is that Bernie has been solidly in favor of a $15 minimum wage since whenever. And Hillary has noodled around the edges of it. She's always got a qualifier in there. She's always got an asterisk. She even last night when she was trying to paint herself as a supporter of $15, she was backing off the idea of raising the federal minimum wage. People, I'm sure, understand that there's a federal minimum wage, and then states and cities are allowed to set their own. The federal minimum wage right now is only $7.25. I think the highest one nationally is 12 something in some of the cities in Washington State and California. I'm not exactly sure, but it's in that ballpark.
Seattle just raised it to 15 also.
Yeah. But anyway, she even waffled on the idea of a $15 federal minimum wage. So it's just pure Hillary. It's, saying whatever needs to be said she thinks to get her votes today. I mean, look how much she mentioned Flint, Michigan last night.
Right. Yeah, that has not been an issue at all since the Michigan primary has it. But my point is, I mean, it doesn't even matter whether she supports a $12 minimum wage or a $15 minimum wage. For years now, in Congress has had a 10-10 bill to raise the minimum wage to $10.10, and nothing has come of it. I mean, what are we even talking about when we can't even get to the halfway mark, Josh? When this bill has been stuck there for years.
That's why I think that what I meant when I said that it was politics, because, the $12 proposal, the $15 proposal, they have as much chance as passing as the $150 per hour proposal that, I would submit if I could do that. It's an impossible thing to get through Congress. And I think that's sort of the argument that Hillary didn't make that she should have if she was trying to gain ground in the debate. I mean, she should have attacked more the Sanders record of introducing this legislation that just sounds progressive and great, but goes absolutely nowhere. Because Bernie is campaigning the way you're supposed to campaign. He's idealistic. He's hopeful. He's like, we're going to shoot for the moon and we're going to get it and Mars too. And Hillary is sort of campaigning the way you're supposed to govern, which is sort of kind of hedging what you say and, being open to sort of compromise that might make it not, if not appealing to the right wing, easier to swallow. So, it strikes me as a very interesting campaign choice to try to debate the merits of that issue when, of course, $15 per hour would be better for Americans than $12 per hour. And instead of attacking, Bernie not, having these big ideas and not actually following through. I'm surprised she hasn't made that attack yet.
The Hillary thing is very odd, because as you pointed out, she's essentially campaigning on mediocrity and hopelessness. She's saying that there's no chance of changing these things, so we shouldn't even try. She's saying that, well, Congress will probably find some way to get it, interfere with this. So I'm planning on exercising no leadership at all on these issues. And somehow she's turned that into an odd little plus for herself. Saying, I'm not going to try to get anyone better health care. I'm not going to try to get anyone better college tuition or trade agreements or minimum wage. I'm not going to do any of those things. We're just going to sit here and do nothing because none of it's going to work anyway. It's just such a negative, cynical message that some people seem to feel is a positive one. The idea keeps there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. Boy, that is really a piss poor reason not to try.
Yeah, I don't remember another candidate in my memory that would campaign on the idea that, well, that's not possible. We're not going to get it done. Let's compromise already while we're still, campaigning. But,
I absolutely can. I can, and it was Hillary Clinton in 2008 against Barack Obama. Because she didn't so much talk about we're not going to be able to do it, but she was talking about, I remember one speech she said something like, she was trying to make fun of him, and she was saying, I want to get results. She's like, I could just give a speech, and the sky will open up, and it killed, but it didn't get her any votes. And again, that's sort of that original point, is that campaigning, you're supposed to be really, idealistic and sort of over-promising or saying I'm going to shoot for this. The only thing I can think of now that would maybe make her campaign think that this is the best move is that since the past 8 years have been so full of legislative gridlock that for the, some 70% of Americans who hate Congress's guts actually would like the idea of possibly getting things moving again. And what's impressive is that Congress is actually working again. One thing that Speaker Ryan has been able to do is get them to start, passing bills again, but it's very quiet. He doesn't want to advertise it because his base, wants them to go to the lady in the room with the phone who just says no all day.
What have they done outside of pass a budget deal, though, since Ryan got in there?
Well, now you're putting me on the spot. I don't know all the bills, but I do know that I've when I go past C-SPAN, they're having a lot more debates than they used to. And the budget thing, I think, is a big deal, especially since that was sort of a deal he inherited. And the fact that he's sort of showing good faith in that, I think, is a positive sign for any American who wants a functioning legislature.
But Boehner passed,
of course,
short-term budget deals, too.
Right. But again, it shows a kind of good faith effort, and that Ryan is different than Boehner, and he doesn't want to allow these things to become big gun battles on the floor of the House and conversely the Senate. I feel like they're taking advantage of all the eyes being on the Trump show to, try to do some things that their base maybe wouldn't like, but allows them to say, hey, we're not just sitting here fucking off.
Yeah, this is actually a really great time to try to pass some bipartisan legislation while no one's watching because all the eyes are on Trump. That's a really good point. Go ahead, Peter.
Well, yeah, the best time for that, of course, is starting the day after the election. You get all the lame ducks lined up to get some stuff through. But let's go back a second to the idea of what the president does, what his or her job is. And first, there's a huge component of leadership, inspiration, aspiration, pointing Americans in particular directions. That's how big things get done. And if you start off where Hillary's starting off by declaring that there will be congressional gridlock, that if you try to do anything other than eke out the status quo, then Congress will just, log jam it up and things like that. I mean, boy, there's no place good to go from there. She brags about Hillary Care last night, and she keeps saying, before it was Obamacare, it was called Hillary Care. Well, having been vaguely saying it during the 1980s, and the only people who called it Hillary Care really were the Republicans who were trying to interfere with it. Certainly nobody was referring it to that way to positive thing. So, she spent her career getting log jammed, and she's basically saying, if you elect me, I'm going to drag that crap forward. So don't expect anything, but vote for me anyway. We don't know what would happen with Bernie. Clearly, he's been in the Senate for a very long time. He has a pretty good idea how things work there. If there is going to be a hope of trying to reach some form of consensus on things, you'd figure somebody who knew their way around the machinery of the Senate, and I don't count Hillary's brief, foray, is going to have a little bit better chance than someone who walks in with as much baggage as Hillary is going to drag forward.
Well, Bernie was in Congress for a while, but he also hasn't been in the Senate very long either. I think only about 8 years.
Well,
so
Congress, forgive me, yeah.
Okay.